Hey everyone. In this video, we're going to take a look at how to factor quadratic trinomials with a leading coefficient. So in the prior video, we focused on factoring trinomials where the leading coefficient was 1. Here we're going to have a leading coefficient as an integer other than 1. Okay, so I'm going to use the AC method, which is usually a pretty quick method for factoring these things. You're going to be multiplying the first and last term together and then pretty much factoring what we have there. All right, so these are the steps we'll be using, and let's just jump right into an example. Okay, so factoring the expression 7x squared plus 10x plus 3, we'll notice we have a leading coefficient of 7. Now this 7 also, if you notice, is not divisible by the rest of our terms, so it is not going to be a greatest common factor. So you cannot factor it out, so we're going to go ahead and use, what we call the AC method. So I'm going to multiply our A and our C, 7 times 3, that's going to give me 21. And now I'm going to factor what I have here. I'm going to look for two numbers that multiply to be 21 and add to be 10. That's going to form our temporary binomials. Okay, so we know that 7 and 3 would work here, so x plus 7 and x plus 3. 7 times 3 gives us 21. 7 plus 3 would give us 10. And now because we have this leading coefficient of 7 here, what we're going to do is we're going to divide each of our binomials by that leading coefficient of 7. Okay, so here 7 divided by 7, that's going to be x plus 1. And now here this 3 over 7, you can't divide 3 by 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 7 and I'm going to move it to the front of this term. So it's going to become 7x plus 3. And that is our factored form. Okay, so it's really similar to our factoring without a leading coefficient. It just has one step in the beginning and one extra step at the end that we need to keep in mind. So let's take a look at another example. Okay, so again here we have a leading coefficient of 4, and that is not a common factor for each of our terms. So we're going to use the AC method to factor this. So 4 times negative 3, that's going to give me a negative 12. And again, I'm looking for what multiplies to be negative 12 and adds to be negative 4. Okay, let's see. We have, we could use a 6 and a 2. So we'll make it x minus 6 and x plus 2. Okay, negative 6 times 2 gives me negative 12. Negative 6 plus 2 gives me negative 4. Again, leading coefficient of 4, so I'm going to divide each of my terms by 4. Okay, now here we have 6 over 4, 2 over 4. We're going to want to reduce these, so let's go ahead and do that, make it a little bit easier for ourselves. Okay, so I have x minus 6 over 4 is really just 3 over 2. And 2 over 4 we could reduce to 1/2. Okay, both fractions, so we know what we're going to do is we're going to move these denominators to the front of our x, or our leading term. And our final answer is going to be 2x minus 3 and 2x plus 1. And there's our final answer. All right, so I usually prefer to use the AC method when you have a leading coefficient in your quadratic trinomial. All right, it's a pretty easy method. Again, you multiply A times C in the beginning, look for our factors of that, and then divide those factors by our leading coefficient.